Hello. I'm going to be talking about two things that are slightly related, and the first one will be about the latest controversy to do with Shamima Begum, and also about a recent incident in Pakistan. You're going to have to do some homework here because there's much about which I cannot talk on this, well, on YouTube anyway. So I'm going to be just outlining some of the issues, and I have to tell you that when you do look them up, you're going to find it very distressing. I have to say I found it very distressing, and I have to confess to you, normally I make a video first thing in the morning. I took to doing that because it's cool. And then I get on with the rest of my day, and then I edit it in the afternoon and time it for release the next morning, unless there's an issue that's just blown up and needs dealing with straight away. That's the usual system. But sometimes, of course, I can't get to record things in the morning because of pressure of time or some job I have to do. So that's when my videos come out later on. And today this video is coming out later on simply because yesterday morning, having got the news of this incident in Pakistan, I couldn't make the video. I destroyed my whole day, did a lot more to the victim, of course. But anyway, I'll get on with this. First of all, I'll outline what happened to Shamima Begum. She was 15 years old when she and two friends went nominally to Turkey. They took off on their own. I think Begum used her sister's passport, and they went to Turkey, where they were transferred by ISIS agents to Syria and then into the Islamic State. There are photos of them in the airport, and they're always, one of them is 18, but the other two are 15-year-olds and very young looking. And I did say at the time I was suspicious of how they got past passport control. And I suggested that one of the ways that might have got them through was that there was somebody in passport control who was colluding with them. At the time, I was blaming it on people sympathetic to ISIS, Pakistani Muslim heritage people who were employed in the airport, who were just ordinary employees in the airport rather, but sympathetic to the idea of ISIS, who helped the girls get through. But now there's a story circulating that they did have help getting through, and that was a Muslim, but he was a British agent, and his job was to collect information about British citizens going to join ISIS, and that somehow he actively lured them there. So it wasn't some random passport official. Well, the story is just as valid for both scenarios, I suppose. But this theory of the British agent it's still only a theory, by the way. It's not a proven fact. So that's the situation. They got to the land of milk and ISIS, and sometime later, both of Begum's friends were killed trying to escape. And Begum disappeared. They assumed she was dead, and then a journalist happened on her in a DP camp in Syria, and there was a media frenzy, and there was Begum turning up, wearing her niqab, being interviewed, and holding in her arms a baby, which later on was said to have died. And a lot of people said, do we think that's really her baby, or she borrowed the child just to make herself a more sympathetic character, which is also possible. I don't say it actually was that, I'm just saying it's possible. Anyway, when she was interviewed and the interviewer asked her about things she'd seen as one of the active members of ISIS, and apparently she was participating in some way. She wasn't just a prisoner. They asked her about the aftermaths of executions and whether that bothered her, and she just sort of went, no, they were enemies of ISIS. That didn't float too well in the British press, and a bit later on she turned up again being interviewed with a Union Jack cushion on the chair behind her. Now, where did she get that, one wonders? It reminds me of that old photojournalist trick of putting a teddy bear in a bomb site. You know, makes it more pathetic, doesn't it? Anyway, this recent book suggests that the British double agent was an ISIS trader, and people like Peter Hitchens have leapt on this, justifiably. I understand it. I don't say his argument is completely invalid. He said, we owe her because she was trafficked. She was only 15. Well, yeah, she was only 15, but she wouldn't have been trafficked if she hadn't have been primed for this. And in any case, well, actually, this ties in with something else, because I saw some threads on Facebook and a few people have been saying, well, she's not being allowed in because of racism. Well, first of all, a white Christian heritage young man who converted to Islam and joined ISIS. He was from Oxford, and he was also stripped of his British nationality. So that's one proof that racism isn't a factor in her continuing not to be British anymore. But also, she is a citizen of Bangladesh, and Bangladesh doesn't want her, apparently. Why? Is that racism? Her father doesn't want her. You may ask, why not? Well, it's probably because of things like this. This is an article a few years old now, but yeah, German ISIS woman is jailed for the death of a 5-year-old slave who, as punishment, she chained up in the courtyard in the midday, throughout the day, without any water or shelter, in the Middle East, wherever it was. It was quite warm, I'd say. Anyway, the child died. Well, I mean, you think 5 years old can be a slave in 2018 or whenever this was, whenever she had this child as a slave. So, yeah, speechless. All right, sorry about that. Just became speechless for a minute. And then there was this article here, which knocked me for 6 yesterday. And as I said, I couldn't do the usual video about it. Strangely enough, although I found lots about Begum on the BBC website, I found nothing about this, so had to access it here. It's from a news site called Pipa, which is, just for your information, it's not some Hindu, tabloid red top. It is a Muslim paper. You see, I am not saying that all Muslims feel this way about non-Muslim people. The problem is the uneducated ones do. Just a minute, show reader view. Here we are. And there are more of those in Pakistan than there are literate ones. Atrocity. Now, again, just take a look at the headline. They did what they did to her, and then they rendered her unable to see so that she wouldn't be able to identify them, I suppose. At least I think that's probably what was going through their minds, apart from the sheer joy of causing pain to a non-human. Now, that's the important bit of it. And this article says that in Pakistan, there's another example of what is happening, because, well, this sort of thing is happening all the time. It may not be quite as extreme as this, but it's still happening to minorities in Pakistan. And it's all based on a particular philosophy. And again, we all know about what's happening in the UK. Now look, there are atrocities in India among Hindus. So, and here in the UK, white men do awful things as well. But generally speaking, they know they're doing the wrong thing unless they have a mental illness. The problem with, as I say, the less intelligent of the Muslim population of Pakistan is that the imams tell them correctly that their prophet says that non-Muslims are not entirely fully human. It's his words. I'm not sort of exaggerating anything here. You can't make a slave of a Muslim, but you can make a slave of a non-Muslim. Well, that means that non-Muslims are considered lesser in some way. And then, of course, they have a special tax imposed on them, which has actually apparently a very reasonable reason behind it, and that's that non-Muslims can't be in Muslim armies, so they have to pay a tax instead of going to war. And that makes some sort of sense, but still it's the idea of paying that tax, which is known as the jizya, is you're supposed to humiliate them at the same time. So when you pay the tax, if you're a kafir, you get slapped or even spat at by the person accepting the money from you. It's complicated. But all of this is, I'm just telling you this because I am trying to explain how Muslim jurisprudence regards non-Muslim. And all this comes from Muhammad, who, for political reasons, was classified in early Islam as the perfect man. So you have to follow his example. And until Islam finds a way around this, this behaviour will continue. Not among the educated intelligentsia so much, but then that German woman was a very educated woman and a European to boot, but she'd take non-Islam. She'd embraced it with both arms, and look what's happened to her sense of morality. And when one of the Rotherham attackers said, after he'd been convicted, he didn't understand what the fuss was about because he didn't really do that much wrong. Yeah, he really did say that. Well, taking this instance in Pakistan, that child, if she survives, and she's very badly injured, so she might not, but if she survives, she will never see the light of the sun again. Her face is a mass of scars, and she probably has such severe damage to her abdominal organs that they will never function properly either. So when you look at that sort of a situation, that Rotherham guy who said he didn't do that much wrong is probably correct. He could have done a lot worse. At least most of his victims can still see. Meanwhile, I would rather not have somebody like Shamima Begum here. The problem is that there are many like Shamima Begum here because she is just a figurehead, the sacrificial lamb in a way, because the British government have let in many more with far more extreme and at least externally unchanged views. So this situation, this is a bit of a storm in a teacup. We have to deal with the people who are here. Right, well, I'm Granniopteryx. I'm on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute and Minds. I let you know when I've uploaded a video on Twitter, Gab and Parler. And if you subscribe to one of those, you'll get notifications. Otherwise, you can't rely on YouTube. You also can't rely on YouTube for keeping your subscription going. So just check that out if you are subscribed, and if you're not, please subscribe. Okay, please like and share and support the channel if you can. There's well, in the description down below you can buy me a coffee, Subscribestar, regular payments, or you can do a one-time payment with Subscribestar as well. And then of course there's PayPal. Right, yeah, that's it. Until next time, and I hope perhaps a happier video. Why not treat yourself or a favoured relative or friend to these magnificent examples of merch? The mugs and t-shirts come in the granniopteryx design or Granbo with a firearm or the more deadly knitting needles. Go to www.granniopteryx.com and whatever platform you're watching this on, please click like, subscribe and share, share, share.